Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a great weekend. So today is finally the day. I decided to do my talk on, to do a video comparing the tarot and the deck of playing cards side by side, right? And so I had a few ideas. I even prepared a couple of decks. This time, for the first time on this channel, you'll see the decks, both decks set up in order. And for the purpose of this experiment, I'm going to use the Rider-Waite tarot deck, which, by the way, looking back at it, because I hadn't used it for a while, I discovered it's also bridge sized. So it's almost the perfect size. If only I could get it like on casino quality paper, it would be the perfect Rider-Waite deck for me. Although I'm still considering getting the 100% plastic one. Because I generally do want to see what it's like to use a plastic tarot deck. But, on the other hand, I can get a couple of them on NPC as well. So there's a few options out there, so I might still think about that. But so what we are going to do today is I'm going to expand on those ideas that I mentioned in my previous videos about the playing cards, traditional deck of playing cards, already including all the elements of tarot in the reduced number of 52 cards, right? And obviously, as I said before, I don't think this is coincidental, and I don't think that necessarily discredits the use of the tarot, because as I said, there's a symmetry between playing cards and tarot as well. So 3 decks of 52 card playing cards. So 3 decks of 52 cards are equal to 2 decks of 78, right? So the number lines up after a while. So there's a certain balance between the two, and I don't think it's by accident that they added 26 new cards to the tarot, right? So you have a deck of 52 playing cards, you add 26 on top, so 4 knights, and then the 22 major arcana, and you got a tarot deck basically, right? But they have the same internal structure and so on. But what I am still trying to figure out is whether the setup of the tarot is like lopsided and has been like an addition to the playing cards, because it has, the 22 triumphi were added in the Renaissance. And if that is detrimental to its use as a tool, for a spiritual tool, let's say, for divination, etc., or if it's not important, let's say, if it improves it even, maybe, right? So what I thought we'd do, first of all, I think we're gonna go through the bicycle deck, right? And so I just wanted to review what we've learned so far about the number of the cards. So we have 22 reversible cards, which can be split up in 7 groups of 3 cards each, right? So we have 3 aces, which are reversible because they have a top and a bottom side, right? So the ace of diamonds, as you can see, which I can show you here, is non-reversible, right? So either way you rotate it, it will look the same, right? So it's symmetrical. So we have the 3 aces, we have the 3 threes, and the same goes for the diamonds. Again, is the 3 of diamonds is not reversible, and we'll see that with almost all of the cards. We have the 3 fives. We have the 3 sixes, and the 6s, you would think that they're symmetrical, and obviously you could arrange them in a way that they would be, right? So then have these 3 upright and these 3 upside down, and then you would have a non-reversible 6. But the creators of the playing cards, in its evolution through the centuries, have decided to keep this pattern rather than split it up sideways. So I believe there's a reason for that, and the reason for that is because it has to be reversible. And it has to do with the symmetricality of the cards and the symbols, right? The pips. And that's why they do it this way, right? So if it's upright, you have the 4 upright ones and the 2 upside down. And if it's upside down, you have the 2 upright ones and the 4 upside down. So same for hearts and clubs. As you can see, this one is reversed. Now we have the 7s. And again, the rule of thumb, in my opinion, is that if the majority of the pips are upside down, then the card is reversed. Right, so this one would be upright, this one would be upside down. Same with the 7, this one now is upright. But the 7, as we mentioned in my previous video, is the only pip, the only rank that includes all 4 cards, all 4 suits. Right, so we even have the 7 of diamonds, which is reversible, right, because it's, how do you say, unbalanced. It's asymmetrical. Then we have the 8s, and the 8s is the same as the 6s. You'd expect them to be reversible, but they're not. So it's 5 and 3. So 5 upright and 3 upside down. Or 3 upright and 5 upside down. Right, so either way you look at it, it's gonna have a different outcome. Same with the clubs, and then the 9s. The only pip that defines whether the 9 is upside down or not is the central one, right? Same with the 9 of hearts, and same with the 9 of clubs. So as we can see, those are 22 in total. They're divided into 7 groups of 3 cards each, and the last card, which belongs to the 7s, which is the 7 of diamonds, right? So you have 7 groups and a 7, which is also significant because 7 is obviously the magical number. And then we go to the reversible cards. And if we count those, we get some interesting phenomena as well, right? So we have 1 ace, the ace of diamonds is the only one that's irreversible. We have all 4 2s, right? So even though they're asymmetrical, there's one upright and 1 upside down. So they all have the same irreversible status. So either way you drop them on the table, they will have the same meaning. The 3 of diamonds, the 4 of diamonds, and then again all 4 4s. And they for the same reasons as the 2s. Right, so the 4s have 2 upright and 2 upside down. Then we have the 5 of diamonds, the 6 of diamonds, the 9 of diamonds, and the 8 of diamonds. These are all single. Then we have all 4 10s, because they once again have an equal number upright and upside down. And those are our irreversible pips. And then we have the court cards, right? And what you can do now is, because we've split them into ranks, you can separate the pips from the court cards, which gives you, right? And remember, in the deck of playing cards, we only have 3 court cards per suit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the court cards correspond perfectly with the 12 signs of the zodiac, obviously, yeah. Which is not surprising, because the court cards are also used in the tarot for those correspondences. So my birth card, for example, in the tarot would be the Knight of Coins, because it's an earth sign. I'm a Virgo. Here I still have to figure it out, although I do tend towards the Queen of Spades, because that in playing cards the spades are the earth sign, right? And I'm a Virgo, so I'm more inclined to say that it's female than it's male. But obviously I still need to figure out those correspondences if they exist. But you know, with the tarot you have a 4th court card, right? So there are actually 16 of them in total, while here you have 12. So the correspondence with the signs of the zodiac is perfect. And then you have 18 pips. 1, 2, because there are 13 total. So 30 irreversible cards and 22 reversible ones makes 52 total. And then if you have 12 court cards, then you have 18 pips. And obviously 18 is 6 divided by 3, right? So that's, we have almost all the diamonds except for the 7. So we have 9 diamonds from ace to 10 minus the 7. And we have for every other suit, we have 3 non-reversible cards. So the 2s, the 4s, and the 10s. All others are reversible and are in what I'm provisionally calling the major arcana now. So what's interesting about this is you can split the cards in a different way as well, namely by removing the diamonds from the court cards. Here you go. So you can arrange them by suit. And what you get then is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, did I? Oh wait, I added an heart. That wasn't that wasn't what I wanted to do. Okay, let's put them in order, back in order. Oops. 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ace, and then jack, queen, king. And so then you get 12 cards instead of 13 for the whole suit, because the 7 is missing. It's 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? So you have 12 diamonds. And then each other suit, if we take them each apart, you have king, queen, and jack. King, queen, and jack. And then lastly, king, queen, and jack. And then we have the hearts. I don't know why the order is so scuffed, but yeah, that's the spades. Okay, and the 10. So, what we now get is we have 12 diamonds and 6 cards for every other suit. So that's 666 plus 12. That's the one thing. So if we put all those together, again you have 12 and 18. Right? But what you can also do after that, what I'm thinking now is you have the 12 court cards. And then the pips, and then you have the 12 court cards of the diamonds, right? So these, all together, the 12 court cards, are going to be the signs of the zodiac. Then you have, in the suit of spades, you have 9 cards remaining. So those could correspond with the 9 planets. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is another 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no, wait, this is another 9. Right, so you have the 9 planets, and then you have another 9 to do something with. I haven't decided yet what the correspondence here would be. But so as you can see, like a normal deck of playing cards has a lot more wiggle room for these correspondences, to add the signs of the zodiac without having to repeat them, because in the tarot they correspond both with the court cards as well as with the major arcana, as well as in the pips they have some correspondences and things like that. So Crowley's tarot, for example, he added like certain constellations on each pip as well, defining certain time frames and stuff like that. But that's all not necessary in a deck of playing cards because they just fit perfectly, right? You have the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 9 planets, and then you have 9 more that you could do something else with that I haven't decided. I've thought about, like, maybe the Enneagram or maybe the 9 muses or something like that. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'll have to find something that fits this idea, right? But those 30 cards are split up into repeating patterns: 12, 18, 6, 6, 6, 6, or 12, 9, 9. Yeah, and then the major arcana is obviously, as I said, split up into sevens. So 7 groups of sevens and threes. So 7 groups of 3 plus 1 7 plus the 7 of diamonds, right? So what I want to do now is see if we can get some sort of correspondence between the court cards. Between the reversible pips and the major arcana. All right, so we have the 22 cards of the major arcana, and obviously, personally, I don't know if it's necessary to start including the symbolism of the tarot into these cards, right? Because I think it's most effective when you just have this visceral, this simple structure that you only have 22 cards in a playing card deck that can actually be reversed. Well, with tarot, every card can be reversed, right? So that gives these cards a special status, right? And I'm trying to figure out what that's going to mean for cartomancy moving forward. So let me just do my thing. I forgot about that. I forgot to put on my my accoutrement, right? My ritual implements. So anyway, so obviously, look, we can, the tarot, Christophe Poncet, for example, had published in his book a list that Marsilio Ficino had made with the major arcana spread out in 3 rows of 7. 3 rows of 7. So, but they went from right to left, if I'm not mistaken. So the Fool comes out anyway. So that's then, let's see, from right to left, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, so the first row ends on the Chariot. And so this was astrological. He was using the 7 classical planets to identify the tarot, right? So he split them in groups of 7. So we have 1 to 7, the Magician to the Chariot. Then we have 8 to 14, which is strength, or actually justice, up to temperance. And then the last one is 15 to 21, right? So we have both the Fibonacci sequence and the rule of 3s and 7s. Now, we could start taking them, in 3x3s and things like that. But what I'm afraid is that these cards are not going to correspond directly with the major arcana. So what might actually help is to compare them to their tarot equivalents, right? So we have the Ace of Spades and the Ace of Swords, which could probably reveal some more for us, right? And obviously the Ace of Swords on a more spiritual level could mean like a new beginning, a new plan, a new strategy, things like that. but it could also be related to death and so on, right? And obviously the swords in tarot are about air and are about intellectual pursuits and about plans and things like that and methods. But in the playing cards, they're about how do you say, how would you call that? Like about difficulties, about boundaries, about setting boundaries, about conflicts with others, conflict of interest, and things like that. You could almost see it as like a microcosm of like geopolitics, right? Because in essence, our relation to our neighbors is based on rational demarcations, right? On boundaries, on property. So when that's disputed, you get into a fight with someone, things like that, right? So we all want to have our territory to be able to live in comfort. So the spades, in my interpretation, are about protecting your boundaries, right? So you have to go. So they take place at the outskirts of our living space, but are still related to it, right? So we're standing in front of the door to guard for anyone coming in, that kind of thing. And obviously, upside down, our boundaries are breached, are basically disrespected. So you get, but the thing is, like, what I do think is that the and that's also why I picked the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, right? I do think Pamela Coleman Smith was actually using the playing card interpretations for her artwork, because her swords are very much like this stereotype that the spades are the most evil or the most negative suit in playing cards, in cartomancy, right? So it ends on ruin. It's the 9 of swords, the 10 of swords, the 8 of swords. Those are all very nasty cards, and they go from bad to worse, right? And what you will notice is, for example, the 10 of swords, the 10 of spades, sorry, is irreversible, right? So that means if the spades are like Pamela Coleman Smith's reading of the swords, and it ends on ruin, then there's no light at the end of the tunnel here, right? So 10 of swords means 10 of spades means it's a catastrophe. It's irreversible. So they have a certain tragedy to them. That's what I believe. The spades are a tragic suit. They speak of inevitability. They speak of laws and how do you say? The clash of, if you've read what was the famous tragedy? Antigone, right? If you've read Antigone, that's what this is about, right? There are laws and traditions, but there are places where these two collide, right? And Antigone wants to preserve her tradition, her family tradition, by burying her brother, despite the fact that his uncle, who is now, he fought against his uncle, who is now on the throne, and as the law suggests, the law that her uncle needs to uphold, he was a traitor, so he's not allowed to be buried. So she buries him, and she gets buried with him because she broke the law as well, right? So that's the 10 of swords. That's the inevitability of death, of mutual destruction, of war, of all these things. But the 9 of swords, for example, is a reversible card. So up to this point, you can still prevent evil from happening, right? And so the swords are literally telling you that we, this is it's a it's a double-edged sword. There's good and evil even in the spades, and that's what I think they're about, And it's what I find especially interesting is like when you listen to cartomancy readers, YouTubers and stuff like that. They tell you that the suit of hearts is the best one. But if we take this system into account, the suit of hearts has just as many has 7 reversible cards. The ace of hearts first and foremost, the 3, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8 and the 9. So the suit of hearts cannot be the best suit. The suit of hearts has troubles as well, has problems as well, right? And there are certain cards that are only good, like the 2 of hearts, obviously, because that's unconditional love. The 4 of hearts is emotional stability. The 10 of hearts is fulfillment, happiness, family, legacy, all that stuff. But these are only 3 cards. The 2, the 4 and the 10. So the suit of hearts, it speaks about feelings. So there can still be disappointment. There can still be betrayal. There can still be more disappointment, sorrow, or like nostalgia, or like whatever. There can still be temptation. Or maybe this is temptation. Like the 7 of Cups in tarot. And there can still be depression, right? Or like, how do you say? I don't want to say disappointment. Like the opposite of happiness. Sadness, sorrow. So it's really very much a careful what you wish for suit, right? While the diamonds, on the other hand, have the fewest reversible cards. And I'm not going to count the court cards again. But and the diamonds are basically, and it makes sense as well, because diamonds don't break, right? We use diamonds for power tools. We use them for intensive work, and obviously they're not valuable as they want make you believe, because their value is created by artificial scarcity. So don't buy a diamond for your loved one. Just buy a golden ring, and put a precious stone on it. Just don't pay the thousands of dollars for a diamond. But at the same time, the actual value of diamonds is in their practicality. They're actually useful, right? We use them to cut granite. We use them to make detailed ornamentation in hard material. And they don't, how do you say? They're hard as hell, so they don't break, they don't erode. So, and they're just carbon, right? So all the diamonds just say what they say. They don't have a negative. Except for the 7 of diamonds. And I think the 7 of diamonds is about greed. So this could very well be the devil, right? And what I find funny is it does remind me of the Khazarian coat of arms. The Khazarian symbol of the Ukraine. Which seems to be a seal of some demon that the Khazarians used to serve. I think it was I don't remember what he was called. But you know what I mean, right? I think, and all the 7s have that same pattern. Whether you put it upside down or. And what I also like about the hearts is like when you get 5 hearts like these. It looks like the contour of a skull, right? So these are the eyes. This is the the nose hole. And these are the hollows of the cheekbones. So here in between you would have the teeth, but because it's all white, it's been minimized to that level. And I mean, you could kind of do the same with the spades, but then you'd have to have it upside down. But then suddenly the skull looks happy, you know, like an anime figure with the eyes like this. But so yeah, I do think the upright version of the spades, like with the, so for example for the 7, with the 5 upright and the 2 upside down, would be the upright reading of the 7 of spades. Well, if it's the other way around, so this one is a positive meaning. I still need to figure them out. While this one is negative, right? So the spades are a big how do you say, a big mystery to me, right? I kind of want to redeem them in cartomancy, the spades and the swords, but mostly the spades because I don't care about tarot all that much anymore. Or well, maybe that's a bit harsh. I'll probably discover something new to look into tarot. But yeah, the spades, you know, I think we've been pretty hard on both the spades and the swords, right? Because the swords are still the spades and they're interpreted the same way. And it's funny too because like here, this card for example, it comes from the Solabusca tarot. And the three of swords in the Solabusca shows this heart with the 3 swords pierced through, right? And the same goes for the 9 of wands, for example. I've talked about it in my Secret History video, which I'm gonna have to remake someday. You have the 10 of wands, right? In the Solabusca it's the 10 of swords. He's carrying 10 swords like this on his shoulder. So I do feel like a lot of the cards were taken on face value, or she didn't have the wherewithal to see the 2 interpretations of the cards, right? To see how if they're reversible and things like that. And I think she should have studied cartomancy as well to be able to make that distinction. But obviously the Rider-Waite tarot has the advantage that you can have a reversible card like this and have a reversed meaning. But let's see, what else did I want to say about the spades? There was something else. But yeah, so look, what I think in general is that these 22 reversible cards, they are and they aren't the major arcana, right? I don't think it's any use trying to find a numerological correspondence between the major arcana and the 22 reversible cards, which I'm still going to call the major arcana of the playing cards, because they do contain a secret, right? These cards have 2 meanings rather than just one. And you know, I've had some ideas. Let's see, because I have my notes here, for example, right? And if we go to, like, say, let's pick one. Let's just pick out the spades here. Let's say we do the 3 of spades, right? So in my notes for playing cards, spades are earth. There's interference, distraction, and loss. Interference, distraction, and loss. But so that's upside down. Those are the negative connotations, right? If you put it upright, it could be liberation instead of interference, or like how do you say? Not interfere. You know, let's just call it that, or like what's the opposite of interference? Well, you know, I would say liberation, like unbinding, without interference, you know. What's the other one? Distraction is focus, concentration. And this makes sense because now you have two spades looking in the same direction, right? And the last one would be, instead of loss, something is found, right? So you could go with that. So you could basically take the Rider-Waite interpretations of the spades and turn them upside down. 5 of spades, for example. Where do I have it? Here. Illness, addictions, injury, etc., stress, etc. So this could be, so obviously upside down, 3 arrows pointing downwards. It would be illness, addictions, injury, and stress. And upright, it would be resting. You'd be able to recuperate, right? And this, and resting is part of, being a warrior as well, right? The 6 of spades. Let's start with the upside down version, because I'm assuming, people who teach cartomancy say the spades are the worst cards. So the upright version would be the positive interpretation, the reverse card. So 6 of spades is bad decisions, bad crowds, cutting things out of your life, walking away from things that are not good for you. So now this is funny because here we get both interpretations. The positive one, the negative one is bad influences and bad decisions and bad crowd. While the upright one would be distancing yourself from bad crowds. And trying to improve your life. And also the process of, because in order to do that you have to be aware of their influence. You have to, it's a process of reflection. You have to make a decision. Now we have the 7 of spades. That's a big one. And again, it came out already reversed. Double trouble. So the 7s are trouble cards, right? They talk about trouble. Mysteries, investigations, diagnoses, consultations, curses, hexes, black magic. Now, obviously, it says that there's a lot of trouble and stuff like that, but mysteries and investigations and stuff like that, if you put it the upright, that could still refer to the same thing. You could still be looking for answers on a certain subject, on a certain mystery or whatever. But it could be that this indicates that you're coming closer to your goal, for example, right? That you're making important discoveries, and that you're driven to see this through to the end. And let's look at the 7 of diamonds as well, right? So the 7 of diamonds is money problems, nerves, anxiety, psychic powers, astrology, and mysticism. So this is the positive. So I think the negative is money problems and nerves and anxiety, but they could also be spiritually related, right? So the 7s are also the spiritual cards, and they speak of different types of magic and things like that, which is unique to cartomancy, by the way. And then the 8 of spades. Depression, oppression, negativity, gossip, rumors, mobs, gangs, gang violence, segregation, or a witch's coven. That's what I wrote down. That's all from the Queen of Diamonds. You should look up her videos. She's very, very helpful. But so if you turn this, so this is the upside down. So this is the rule. This is mob rule basically, right? But if you turn it upright, it could be, it could be that the gang, that the mob is on your side, or that you're in the mob, or that there's gossip, but there's more like rumors about, because people are afraid of your authority, of your strength. So there are rumors, but they are actually in your advantage, right? There's no such thing as bad publicity. So that's what you could get from an upright 8 as well. And then the 9 of spades. is change for the worse, illness and surgery. Now, so if it's upright, obviously, it could be change for the better, but there is a card for change for the better. But I would think it would mean that your health is slowly improving again, right? But so what I'm trying to get at, the spades have been very much vilified in cartomancy, and you see that in tarot as well, right? So, and in tarot that comes out in its purest, most toxic form, because the spades are swords as well. They pierce hearts. You have a tomb here. You have like a duel that's gone wrong. People are, and also this picture reminds me of Alienation, because they all look in different directions. They're all so this one is crying, this one is walking away, and this one is the victor with the 3 swords. So he defeated the other 2. Right, so it's a very one-sided, and it's not even. Let's see, what's the 5 of spades again? Illness, addictions, injury, etc. Well, yeah. So here it's more like a dishonorable victory, things like that. Here again, the family is leaving. They're moving to better pastures. This guy is putting a sleight of hand. This woman is trapped in her own thoughts and stuff like that. But then, so readers keep saying, yeah, that's all in your imagination. But like on the card, the swords are literally around her, So this could be like a hazing ritual as well. The 9 of swords, the man can't sleep because of his, haunting thoughts. And the 10 of swords ends in tragedy, right? So the man dies. But at the same time, what I think happened is basically the spades, and it's funny too, because if you buy a bicycle deck, the first card you see is the ace of spades. So it goes from ace and then the other suits. You get them in order. I don't remember the order of the other suits, but I think you get aces, clubs, and then hearts and diamonds, or diamonds and hearts. And the ace of spades was the card that in the UK at least, in Great Britain, was monopolized. So you couldn't have a deck without also buying an ace of spades from the state, right? So that you have an official complete deck. And so that's why the ace of spades usually, especially in like the English-speaking world, has these elaborate aces with the logo of the company underneath, or the address or whatever, and the copyrights or whatever. But at the same time, that also means that the spades are the first suit. And it's funny too, because once again, they also correspond to the seasons, right? So the spades are winter. I changed them around a bit for myself because I don't. Because people say the hearts are summer. I think the diamonds are the hearts are spring. So spades are winter, hearts are spring. Diamonds are summer because they're fire. And clubs are autumn, are fall. And so obviously with the Julian calendar, our year starts in winter, in January. Right? So the spades are the first suit, right? And so this all corresponds because the Julian calendar, that came from the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was a patriarchal society. The warrior class had the highest status there, because it was a militaristic society as well. And the spades are cognate with with the pala and the palatine, right? So as I explained in a previous episode, pala in Spanish is a spade, and it's also a type of sword in the Ottoman Empire. The curved sword is a pala, which we also have, by the way. So like Austro-Hungary, they also had these how do you say? Cavalry swords. Sorry. It's the same word anyway. Cavalry swords that were like very like heavily weighted at the front and very long and curved, and they called them the palash. Right. So the palatines, the pala, the spades, and I believe the spades are because they also correspond to the four classes of society, right? So you have the spades are the military and the aristocracy. The hearts are the priesthood. The clubs are the peasantry, and the diamonds are the mercantile class, the merchants. So the spades, in a way, I think, are the highest suit, right? And obviously it can be debated whether it's, because there were, and that has been debated many times throughout history, whether the priesthood or the royalty should have precedence over society and should have authority. But in the end, I mean, either way you slice it, the priesthood is subservient to the state. With the only exception being the papal state and the Order of Malta, the Knights of Malta, which is a state without a state, and Israel maybe. So what I'm trying to say with that is that it's no coincidence that they have been vilified, the spades, because first off, we've had revolutions against the ancien regime, against the aristocracy. We've had the rise of mercantilism, the rise of capitalism, and we had the rise of the middle class. And at the same time, the rise of the middle class also meant the rise of, feminism and things like that. So obviously, and what's very funny to me is that fortune telling and divination and stuff has been for many years now, and I think it's very much a modern recurrence. It's not. I'm not saying that it hasn't happened before, but I think. I don't think there's anything saying you can't be a man who reads the cards or who reads the signs. I mean, better yet, in medieval societies and in like pre-medieval, in antiquity, many societies had male augurs, had male truthsayers, right? Had male priests who read the runes, who read the bones, who read the entrails, who read the stars, right? But also because women became so dominant in this practice, women dislike war, and they don't understand it. And this is going to offend some people, but they don't understand the concept of honor. Not as we do, not as men do, right? And the spades are about this. Yes, it's tragic. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, there's violence involved, but you have to do what you have to do, right? And that's why the spades are important. They don't. How do you say? They don't hold your hand, and they're calling a spade. That's literally what this is. Spades are here to tell you the harsh truths, right? But that's not to say that they don't have good things to say either, right? So again, the three of spades upright is like an arrow directly hitting its target, while upside down could refer to like restriction or to like hesitation. You do 2 steps back maybe instead of 1. Here you do 1 step back to You know that phenomenon, right? If you want to strike someone, you go back first and then you hit. If you have a sword, I'm a fencer, so that's why that's what this tells me. And with the bow, it's the same thing. You have to pull back first, and then boom. And it's the same thing when you're jumping. You're taking a few steps back to run and jump further. So you're using momentum, right? So one way with 2 spades up is you have the momentum. With 2 spades down is you're hampered in your momentum, right? You hesitate. And it's the same with the hearts. You can interpret this the same way. If you have 2 hearts, you're just open in expressing your feelings. Well, if it's upside down, there is a hesitation there. And with the clubs, it's the same thing, right? So these patterns also tell us a lot. But so yeah, so these are some of the basics. What I think is, for example, right, the 5 of spades can mean addiction, stress, illness, right? In this way, but can also mean like rest and recuperation. In the tarot, that's usually the 4 of swords rather than the 5. So already the 5 of swords, which is so reviled in the tarot, here finds a proper place that kind of connects good and bad. What else do we have? The 6. We could look at the... no, wait, we do have the 7. We do have... what's the other card? We could look at the reversible ones, actually. So like the 4 of spades, right? The 4 of spades is the same as in the tarot. Even though I already taught you about the 5 of spades. The 5 of spades talks about rest and recuperation, or sickness and stress. But the 4 of spades is stability, right? So in 4 of spades, what this means, and you have the Crowley version of the 4 of swords, is truce, right? I can show it to you. I never particularly liked that card, but let's see if you can find it. I also have a breach-sized deck for the Crowley Tarot, which I honestly like quite a lot. But I have an old one that I've been using, which was my first deck ever, and so I haven't been using this very much. They're a bit harder to shuffle as well. Now, come on. Where's the 4? Here. Right? So, truce is what it says here. I don't know if it's visible. Truce. So, that's the essence of the 4 of spades. The 4 of spades speaks of, like, stability in terms of reputation, in terms of, like, your place in the world, your demarcation. Everyone's safe. So you've adequately marked your boundaries around your territory, right? So nobody's bothering you, and people respect your boundaries. So there's only one way to read this, right? Unless we go to the 5, then we have a different result. Or like the 2 of spades. The 2 of spades usually talks about friction and kind of like, I've got an eye on you, It's usually not about partnerships, although it could be a comrade in arms or something like that. But usually it has to do with competition. So you're competing to see who's the best warrior, right? You see your friend is doing push-ups, and you want to start doing push-ups yourself because you don't want to be left behind. That's what I see this as. And the 10 of swords, as I said earlier, there's no reversal to this. It's just the inevitable end. So the ace of spades can no longer be the death card, right? That has to be the 10 of swords, 10 of spades. But the ace of spades, well, I think the ace of spades in first, so upright, would be a new mission, right? And so you could take it like, if you take it archetypically, like you're initiated as a knight, you have been knighted, and you have your first quest. So that's what I would see it as, kind of. And obviously, there's many instances in life that are kind of similar to this, like my recent relocation. I had an issue with my landlord, which is now turning into a legal, he's probably going to sue me, or we're going to sue him. But so I couldn't let it go. This was something that had to be done, because I had to move that at that moment. We had already made our payments, so I couldn't wait for him to, make up his mind. Because we had already signed, there was nothing to make up over anyway. So, but it's something like this. It's a difficult situation. There's danger, and you're being called to do something about it. And obviously, in that regard, it's pretty similar to the Ace of Swords in the tarot. But so I still have to see if there are any more like correspondences there are to be had in the major arcana of the playing cards. And there's this other thing that I've been thinking about, because I was thinking about, why do we just call them playing cards? Why can't they have their own like special name, like the tarot, right? And obviously there's a few ideas that I'd come up with. Here in Greece, we call a deck of playing cards, we call it trapula. I trapula. So trapula it comes from Italian, and it's a game that was developed in Venice. It's called trapola. And it means trap. So it's some sort of trick-taking game or whatever. But that could be one, and obviously in Greek I'm gonna call it that. But I was thinking then, was like, I already mentioned twice that a normal deck of playing cards is basically tarot with the helping wheels removed, right? And guess why? Guess why they call it a bicycle deck, right? You now know how to ride the bicycle, right? If you remove if you remove the excess cards of the tarot, you actually have the real thing. But again, this is all speculation. I'm still working on my theories, but I think this is how the tarot and the playing cards relate to each other, at the very least. I'm gonna have to see if there's anything more interesting about the tarot's mathematics to be found. But I think honestly that the perfection of the playing card deck cannot be matched by the tarot, and that we're basically deluding us when we think that the tarot is superior. So that was it for today. I hope this was satisfactory. We talked about the spades. I finally did the video I wanted. It's about an hour long, so that's just about right for me to fix something to eat. And next time we'll see what we talk about. I still have some ideas, but that'll have to wait. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.